Welcome to Feral Tarot. I am Allie, your feral fortune teller, here with a deck review. Today we are reviewing the Erethereal Shadow Tarot deck. Dance by Vixen Maheu. I get no rewards, no kickbacks, no discounts, no affiliate codes. I get nada for doing these deck reviews. So the card creators, the deck, whoever, the artists, the people who make these decks have no idea that I'm doing this. It's not a collaboration. It's not paid. Nothing. This is my opinion. So now that's out of the way. So now let's get into the bones of this review. Here be the facts about this deck. The cardstock, 350 GSM, high quality art paper for those of you who nerd out about that. There's a comprehensive guidebook. The guidebook is fire. I love the guidebook. I love a good guidebook. I have too much Gemini in me to not love a good guidebook. And it has to look aesthetically appealing because I have a Libra Venus. I know you can't tell by this, but this is what a Libra Venus at 40 looks like. I digress. There's gold foil edging on the deck. The vibe is very Baroque-y, antique. Antique is what the website says. I say that it's very Baroque, Edwardian, steampunky, and it's a warm toned deck. You'll see what I mean. It allegedly has a matte finish. I rebuke that. It's got a satin finish, not a matte finish. I digress. Follows the standard Rider-Waite-Smith tarot format. 78 cards, major and minor arcana, 4 suits within the minors. It does not follow the RWS sizing, which is something that we'll definitely discuss. There is a little compartment panel on the box, on the side of the box here. You can only see it when you open, and it's a little message about the shadow, which I think is pretty snazzy. I see what you did there, Vixen. You can see what it says on the screen. You can only see it when you open the box because it's very shadow coated. I appreciate that deeply. Here is the guidebook, front and back. Where's the guidebook? Here's what it looks like in real time. The finish on the guidebook is supposed to be the same finish on the cards, so you see what I mean by satin. It's got a good spine to it. I have an array of guidebooks for comparison. This is the guidebook for your standard RWS pack via US Games. Just a booklet style. It has all the information you need. Little Celtic cross spread, everything. Fantastic. The deck for Star Child Tarot, or the book for Star Child Tarot. Thick, juicy, chunky, very, very concise. Not concise. Very detailed. A lot of information, and I love it. The deck for this is huge. The cards are about the same size as this book, which is why the book is so big. Generally, your guidebook's going to be the same size as or smaller than your cards. And then Erethereal's guidebook. Card sizes, there is a difference. The RWS standard size is 2.75 by 4.75 inches, as you can see there. The card size for the Erethereal deck is 2.75 wide by 5.5 inches tall. So it is the same size as my iPhone. I can get my little mitts all the way around this card. I can't do it this way. So if you rifle shuffle, a tall ass deck like this is going to be problematic for you, to say the least. I have small hands. This is the Shadowscape deck, same size as RWS, and my hand. I can go all the way around it this way. I can go this way. Easy for rifle shuffling. Cannot do that with this deck. Beautiful gold foil edging on this deck. Very nice. It's a warm gold tone, not a brassy, like yellowy gold tone too. Like I said, the color palette for this deck was very warm toned. So beautiful. Satin finish on the cards. The website says matte. I have 2 decks that are they're really matte. That's the standard that I hold a deck to when they say we're matte, because I know it can be done. I have 2 examples of it. So if you're going to be matte, you better be matte. This is satin. This is matte. The matte parts are matting. The artwork part doesn't pick up any glare. The background doesn't. Only the embossed picks up the glare. That is a matte card and a matte deck. And the cards in this deck that don't have any embossing, that's matte. That's a matte card. This is satin. Not a super big deal, but call a spade a spade. So I want to talk about the guidebook a little bit more, because I'm a sucker for a good guidebook. This guidebook, I think it's very comprehensive. It has an intro section, a 4-page table of contents, and a little 101 blurb about all of the minor suits, the major arcana, what shadow work is, how to cleanse and recharge and program your deck, how to come down after a shadow working session, an example of spreads to use, and an about me for the creator of this deck. There's a lot of information in this guidebook. The section for the major arcana, every card has an upright keyword, has upright keywords, reversed keywords, the elemental correspondence, and the planetary / astrological / zodiac correspondence, because there's 12 signs in the Hellenistic zodiac wheel, all those constellations, and there's 22 major arcana. So the ones that don't have zodiac have planetary, and this tells you that. The minor arcana also has upright and reversed keywords, which I appreciate as somebody who does read reversed. It's really helpful to know. You have a general idea as a tarot reader what the reversals mean, but every deck can have a different flavor of what that message looks like based on the artwork of the deck and the intention of the creator and the artist. So it's best to kind of incorporate that, or at least acknowledge that vibe while you're working with that deck. And this guidebook outlines all that, and I love it. So now we'll get into what I don't like about this deck. And there's a couple things. First of all, the card size is awkward for me, because little hands. I do rifle shuffling and overhand shuffling. So shuffling this deck would take longer. It would be more awkward. When you're trying to struggle to keep cards in your hand, your ability to kind of be in the moment and connect with the deck and the energies that you're trying to read with can be interfered with, dampened. It's just distracting, frankly. It's more hard work than it needs to be. If you don't have tiny hands, this won't be an issue for you. If you do, either come up with a different way to shuffle that doesn't feel clunky for you, or don't get this deck. There's one thing that's a total deal breaker for me in this deck, and I don't care how beautiful these cards are. It's a fucking problem that I cannot ignore. So Vixen, the deck creator, is extremely active on all forms of social media. He advertises heavily. This deck is everywhere on the internet. If you're into Witch Talk, Pinterest, Instagram, I mean, the only place I haven't seen an ad for it is Threads. Literally, YouTube, it's everywhere. Fabulous marketing. Get your bag. So if you don't have a crow brain and you see the artwork, you can see what it looks like, right? Here are some examples of what the cards look like. There's a minor arcana example there on the far right, the Five of Wands. There's two majors, the High Priestess and the Empress. And I chose these two specifically as examples because they are very good examples of what I'm talking about. If you can't tell already, the deal breaker for me is the entire deck's art is AI generated. That is a nope for me. I'm one of those people that's anti generative artwork for profit. If you want to make little AI remakes of your profile picture or generate whatever for fun, I mean, I'm anti AR generative art. Period. I don't like it. I don't like using it. Go off if you like to in your personal life. I am very opposed to people profiting off of AI generated artwork. And I think it's a big, big problem in metaphysical spheres. But I can also see like why people would use it. So let me explain. The purpose of this deck, something I noticed, and I have no idea what Vixen's intention was when he was coming up with a concept for this deck. He obviously didn't design it artistically because a computer did that. It's a shadow deck. So you can see a lot of the imagery here. It's very surreal, fantasy. The word is escaping me, but it's very like dreamlike, basically. Surreal would be a good word for it. The faces are kind of not quite right. There's a lot of kind of blank faces or like not well formed faces. Part of that is just the AI process, the way they do hands and faces. But part of that could also be intentional. There's a lot of decks who model off of the RWS system and they purposely leave the human figures' faces in all of the cards blank and just do like the outline of the body, with the intent of the reader is supposed to not get so attached to the features of the figure in the card, but what the overall like impression of the symbolism is. And I feel like that could be applied here too, because it's kind of uncanny valleying and it's not well formed. It can lead you to kind of subconsciously put your own meaning and interpretation and perspective on what you're seeing, which is very Rorschach. And I don't know if that was intentional by Vixen or not, but I definitely picked that up, and I thought it was sneaky, brilliant sneaky for a shadow work deck. Very well intended for that aspect. And the artwork, as you can see, it's a vibe, it's a mood, it works, it's gorgeous. This deck is aesthetically gorgeous. Like, I'm not going to kick it out of bed for making crumbs. I am going to kick it out of bed for another reason, though. But it's a beautiful deck. The cards claiming to be satin, and they're not satin. That's kind of a deal breaker for me, but that's just personally. Or the cards claiming to be matte, but they're satin. I have a high standard for that, as I showed you. All of these decks that are not AI generated have an artist who is behind the concept, hand lining, creating, drafting, painting every image, every line, every color on the card for a reason. It's got a meaning, it's got a purpose, it's supposed to support the connection with divination and conveying the message. So all of their energy when they're creating this, it's an alchemical process. They are putting all of this energy while they're creating the deck into the artwork, and that gets mass reproduced, and those cards carry that energy of what the author was doing when they were designing the deck, what they were thinking of while they were creating that artwork. AI art for tarot, for divination, in that regard, is a computer is generating it instantly. There's no emotional connection, there's no energy to it. So I won't kick this deck out of bed for making crumbs, but I will kick this deck out of bed because it is a brick. The irony that it is shaped like a brick. I have seen reviews all over the internet and the website saying how great this deck is, how easy it is to connect with, how it's super accurate, and it gives me nothing. It's just a deck of cards for me. When you read a lot, each deck has its own personality. It's got its own vibe, it's got its own energy, and you know that when you handle them. They have personalities. This deck is just cards. There's nothing here. There's nothing to connect with because a computer made it. So I will not be using this deck in my personal practice or in my professional practice at all for this reason. What I am going to use this deck for is a tool to show students this is what a deck created by humans feels like. This is an AI deck. Compare, contrast, form your own conclusions. So, final thoughts. 10 out of 10 presentation. Gorgeous deck. Beautiful. Aesthetically appealing. My crow brain is pleased. My Libra Venus is pleased. 3 out of 10 for handling. I have small hands. Yes, it's a me problem. However, it's also kind of a weird shape for a deck. Just saying. Shipping time. It did take over a month from the time I ordered this deck to the time I received it. Now, Vixen and the distribution center are located in Canada, up on the west coast, right outside of Victoria, Vancouver area. So, of course, there's customs to deal with and all that jazz. But take that into consideration. You're not going to get this deck quickly if you do get it. So don't be like, yay, it'll be here in a week. And the overall score I'm giving this deck is 0 because the use of generative AI through the whole deck Vixen, again, super active on all his socials, and nowhere on the website, on any ads, anywhere I've ever seen, has he ever disclosed in any way that the deck is AI, which is, that's a deal breaker for me. It's disappointing. I know that there's not the use of generative AI in business and in magic is controversial. It's a hot button subject right now. And I understand some people just don't give a fuck, which that's fine. That's you. I'm not one of those people. If my ADHD crow brain hadn't just gone, ooh, it's pretty and I want it, and smashed that buy button and actually thought about the image I was seeing instead of how pretty it is, why does it look like that? That's how you know you're having a Libra moment. I would not have bought this deck because, frankly, I have no use for it other than making something like this when I accidentally buy it and present to you my tale of woe so you can form your own opinions and do what you want with your life. So, this has been a deck review for Erethereal Shadow Tarot deck. Here again is deck name. You can get it on this website. You can get readings from me on this website. My blog links are on there. My ritual oil links are on there. All of the things are on there. So, the next deck review I will be doing is the Obsidian Veil Oracle deck, which is the companion to the Shadow Tarot deck. Because why buy one piece of generative AI metaphysical divination tool when you can buy two? My name is Allie. I am your feral fortune teller, and until next time, stay wild, moonchild, and stay feral.